Chapter 1. The Flawed Script. The air in the rehearsal studio tasted like dust and disappointment. Li Xia stood under the sterile fluorescent lights, the script for Imperial Dawn trembling slightly in his hand. Across from him, Jiang Mei's eyes shone with earnest tears, her delivery flawless. "Brother, how could you?" she whispered, her voice a symphony of betrayed heartbreak. "After all our family has endured?" Li Xia cleared his throat. The line was his. "Because your family took everything from me, and now I will take it all back." It was supposed to be a venomous hiss, a declaration of a villain's tragic resolve. He opened his mouth. "Because your family, took the stuff, and now I want it back." A dead silence fell. The acting coach, Director Luo, let out a long sigh that seemed to deflate his entire body. A few of the other trainees snickered, quickly covering their mouths. "Cut. Li Xia. It's not a grocery list. It's a motive. There's a backstory." Director Luo pinched the bridge of his nose. "You are the twisted, jealous second son, poisoning the well of the family that took you in. You have to feel it." Li Xia nodded mechanically. "I feel like I want to go home," he thought. But home was a dorm room 3 floors up. He knew the script, not just the lines for Imperial Dawn, but the larger, invisible script. He'd become aware of it 6 months ago, a strange, pervasive knowledge that he was a character in a story. His role, the beautiful, conniving foil to Jiang Mei's rising star. His destiny, public humiliation and professional ruin after a failed scheme to steal the lead role. The final act, being taught a harsh, career-ending lesson by the legendary movie king, Shun Yu. He'd tried. He really had. He'd practiced scowling in the mirror. He'd studied tragedies. But when the cameras rolled or the directors called action, his mind went blank and placid, like a still pond. No stormy emotions would brew. Again, Director Luo commanded, his voice tired. They ran the scene 4 more times. Jiang Mei's performance only deepened, each iteration more nuanced than the last. Li Xia's remained a flat, beautiful recitation of words. Dismissed with a wave of despair, Li Xia trudged back to his dorm. The envelope from the company was on his bed. Formal casting for Imperial Dawn. He was to play Su Jian, the scheming adopted brother. Jiang Mei was the female lead, the righteous daughter. The press release was attached, highlighting his visual appeal and her exceptional, hard-won talent. The narrative was being written around them already. A heavy, metallic sense of fate settled in his stomach. He was on rails, hurtling toward a cliff. That night, the silence of the dorm screamed at him. His gaze fell on his powerful, neglected gaming PC, a relic from a life before trainee contracts. On a whim, he booted it up, downloaded a streaming app he'd never used, and bought Whispers in the Dark, a horror game notorious for breaking streamers. He created an account, com_conqueror. No face cam, just a voice in the game. The game began in a pitch-black forest, the only sound the crunch of virtual leaves underfoot and a distant, haunting melody. Most streamers screamed, cursed, played for jump scares. Li Xia simply observed. The audio cue for the enemy is a 3-note sequence in the minor key. He murmured into the headset, his voice calm and analytical, a stark contrast to his stilted acting tone. It precedes an attack from the left by 1.2 seconds. The path of least resistance isn't forward. The moss growth on the trees indicates a water source to the east, likely a safer route. He navigated the terrifying landscape not with bravado, but with quiet, relentless logic. When a grotesque, weeping creature burst from a well, shrieking, he didn't flinch. He tilted his head. The model clipping on its right arm is persistent. Also, your tragic backstory is probably tied to this well. Want to talk about it? He wasn't performing. He was just being. And for the first time in months, the oppressive script in his mind went quiet. There was no destiny here, only puzzles to solve. 3 viewers popped into his stream. One typed, "LOL, this guy's talking to the monster like a therapist." Li Xia saw the chat. A small, genuine smile touched his lips, unseen by anyone. Cognitive behavioral therapy could work on undead entities. Their distortions are fundamentally rigid. He played for 4 hours. He forgot about Imperial Dawn, about Jiang Mei, about the movie King and his impending lesson. When he finally signed off, his body was tired, but his spirit was lighter than it had been in a year. He set a reminder for the crucial audition tomorrow, the one where he was fated to meet Shen Yu, then fell into a deep, dreamless sleep. The script had called for a scheming villain. Com_Conqueror had just logged in. Chapter 2. The Missed Cue. Golden Sun Entertainment Studio A buzzed with a tense, reverent energy. This was where Imperial Dawn's supporting roles were being finalized, but everyone knew the real draw. Shen Yu, the movie king, was personally observing the final lead auditions in the adjacent main studio. Li Xia's alarm blared at 7 a.m. With a groan, he swatted it silent, his head throbbing from the late-night immersion in whispers in the dark. The reminder notification for his 9 a.m. audition glowed on his screen. Shen Yu's session immediately following, it read. The fated encounter. He buried his face in his pillow. Just 10 more minutes. When he next opened his eyes, sunlight was streaming aggressively through the window. He blinked at his phone. 10:47 a.m. Missed calls. Manager Wang, 12, unknown 5. A bolt of pure, undiluted panic shot through him. He sat up, heart hammering against his ribs. This was it. This was the first domino falling in his story's collapse. Then, a strange calm washed over him. The panic receded, leaving behind a vast, empty beach of nothing. No anxiety, no dread, just a simple, clear consequence. You missed it. He wasn't fired yet. Manager Wang would be by later, spitting fury. But for now, there was silence. And in that silence, a curious freedom. He made himself a bowl of instant noodles, the salty aroma filling the small dorm. He ate slowly, watching the dust motes dance in the sunbeam. At 1 p.m., he booted up his PC. He wasn't scheduled to stream, but he felt like it. He launched a cozy, non-horror farming simulator. Good afternoon, he said softly as the stream went live. A handful of viewers from last night trickled in. No screams today. We're planting virtual turnips and contemplating the agrarian economy. He spoke about crop rotation cycles, about the relaxing soundtrack, about nothing of consequence. His voice was a low, comfortable murmur. He was utterly, completely himself. In Studio A, at 9:15 a.m., Shen Yu's patience was a thin, cracking sheet of ice. He sat in the shadows at the back of the auditorium, a silhouette of imposing stillness. He'd heard about Li Xia, the pretty idol coasting on connections, slated for a role he didn't deserve. He'd even seen the press release positioning him against the hard-working trainee, Jiang Mei. Shen Yu despised that narrative. Talent and hard work were sacred. Exploitation of privilege was a stain. He had been prepared. When the entitled brat performed his shallow piece, Shen Yu would give precise, cutting feedback, a professional lesson, a correction to the universe's imbalance. But the brat never came. Li Xia is unavailable, a flustered assistant director whispered to the panel. Shen Yu's jaw tightened. Unavailable? For an audition of this caliber? It was an insult deeper than a bad performance. It was contempt. The auditions proceeded. Jiang Mei came in after the empty slot. She performed a scene of grief, raw and powerful, her control impeccable. Shen Yu gave a slight, acknowledging nod. This was talent. This was what deserved the spotlight. Yet, the absence of the other one lingered, a sour note in the room. That night, in his penthouse apartment that felt more like a museum, Shen Yu couldn't sleep. The quiet was oppressive. He scrolled through news, more headlines about himself, about projects he found increasingly hollow. On a whim, he opened a popular streaming platform, a secret vice. He browsed the gaming section, and a thumbnail caught his eye. Com_Conqueror. Whispers in the dark. Blind. No screams. No screams? A gimmick, surely. He clicked. The stream was a VOD from the previous night. There was no face, just the game and a calm, young male voice. The environmental storytelling here is excellent. The faded posters imply a quarantine. The monster isn't evil. It's a containment failure. Shen Yu leaned forward. The voice was intelligent, observant, devoid of performative hysteria. The player moved through the nightmare with a strategist's grace. When a monster leapt out, the voice didn't falter. Ah, there you are. Your attack pattern is repetitive. Left, left, right. You should vary your routine. It was fascinating. It was real. No pretense, no pandering. Just a mind engaging deeply with a world. Shinyu watched the entire 3-hour VOD, captivated. He clicked follow on the channel. User_Silent Observer automatically generated as his username. For the first time all day, he forgot about the missing idol. He had found something infinitely more interesting. Chapter 3, a different kind of stage. The fallout was swift and predictable. Manager Wang arrived at the dorm 2 hours after Li Xia's apologetic text, his face a thundercloud. The lecture was a masterpiece of corporate displeasure, weaving together themes of unprofessionalism, squandered opportunity, and disrespect toward an industry titan. Shinyu, Wang hissed, as if the name itself were a cursed object. You stood up, Shinyu. Do you have any idea the kind of shadow that casts? Directors talk. Producers talk. He could blacklist you with a word. Li Xia listened, head slightly bowed, the picture of contrition. Inside, he felt nothing but a vast, hollow calm. The script in his head played out Wang's tirade almost verbatim. He was just hitting his marks. You are fortunate, Wang spat the word, that the Imperial Dawn producers are pragmatists. Your face is on the promotional posters already. Recasting would cost money and cause gossip. But your reputation on set, Xia, will be mud. You start filming in 2 weeks. You will be there. You will be on time. You will be prepared. Am I understood? Understood, Li Xia murmured. Wang left, the door closing with a soft, final click. The silence rushed back in. Li Xia let out a long breath. The expected storm had come and gone. He was still Su Yao. He still had a job. The axis of his world had not shifted. But another axis was quietly spinning. While Wang had been berating him, a different kind of energy was building online. The clips from his whispers in the dark stream had escaped the confines of Vox Pop. A gaming meme account on a major social media platform posted the segment where Com_Conqueror, cornered by a weeping spectral nurse, had said, "Ma'am, your staffing issues are not my responsibility. The exit is that way," before calmly dropping a noisemaker to distract her and slipping past. The caption read, "This guy treats horror games like a frustrating HR meeting, and I am living for it." It went viral. Views on the VOD skyrocketed. His follower count on Vox Pop, which had been a cozy few hundred, multiplied into the tens of thousands overnight. The Com_Conqueror channel was flooded with comments and new subscribers. How are you so chill? The lore analysis is next level. Your voice is ASMR for surviving nightmares. Li Xia discovered this when he logged on that evening. He stared at the numbers, a strange sensation fluttering in his chest. It wasn't the adulation of fans who loved his face or his idol persona. It was recognition for a skill, for a way of thinking. It was utterly foreign and completely intoxicating. He decided to stream, not a horror game this time. He chose a complex, narrative-driven puzzle game about a haunted village. The chat scrolled faster than he could read. User_Melonbread, Conqueror, you're famous. Com_Conqueror, focusing on inspecting a cryptic wall carving. Fame seems excessive. I just didn't scream. User_Ghost Hunter, they say you're a pro gamer under an alias. Com_Conqueror, solving the puzzle by aligning symbols with constellations in the game's sky. I'm just someone who likes to read the manual. He was in his element. The pressure was off. He was just a voice and a mind, solving problems. The chat loved it. They called his dry delivery comedic gold. They started posting their own theories about the game's mysteries, building a community in real time. The entertainment news cycle, ever hungry, caught the scent. Idol Li Xia's audition no-show overshadowed by viral gaming fame. One tabloid site posted, juxtaposing a blurry paparazzi shot of him looking tired with a screenshot from his stream. The narrative was confused, but the angle was fresh. The aloof, troublesome idol was also a shockingly competent gamer. Director Lau of Imperial Dawn saw the articles. He called the producer. The kid's got heat. It's weird heat, but it's engagement. The gaming demographic overlaps with our streaming targets. Keep him, but make sure he knows his place. The following week, Li Xia arrived for his first costume fitting and script read-through for Imperial Dawn. The atmosphere on the soundstage was chilly. The assistant directors were polite but distant. The costume staff measured him with brisk efficiency. He could feel the whispers clinging to the rafters. That's the guy who stood up Shenyu. That's the viral gamer. Jiang Mei was there, surrounded by a warm bubble of admiration. She saw him and offered a small, sympathetic smile. It was perfectly kind, perfectly protagonist-like. Li Xia nodded back. The main read-through began. Li Xia read Su Yao's lines with careful, deliberate diction. They were technically correct, emotionally barren. When it was Jiang Mei's turn, the room leaned in. She was luminous, her voice finding colors Li Xia couldn't even name. During a break, Li Xia retreated to a quiet corner, pulling out his phone. He wasn't browsing social media. He was playing a hyperlogic puzzle game, his brow furrowed in concentration as he rotated interconnected gears. A shadow fell over him. He looked up. It was Jiang Mei. "Ah," she said, her smile still in place but touched with genuine curiosity. She glanced at his screen. "That looks complicated." "It's just pattern recognition," Li Xia said, his guard instinctively up. This was the protagonist. Their scripted dynamic was one of friction. "The way you were mapping the asylum in that stream," she said, her voice dropping slightly. "That was pattern recognition, too. It was really impressive." Li Xia blinked. He hadn't expected her to have seen it. The script glitched again. Protagonist disdains, foils frivolous hobbies. "You watched it." A clip. It popped up. "You have a very different presence online." She seemed to be choosing her words carefully, not with malice, but with honest bafflement. "It's like you're a completely different person." Li Xia looked at her earnest, open face. For a fleeting second, he considered the truth. "I am." Instead, he shrugged, a gesture he'd never use as the idle Li Xia. Less makeup, fewer lines to remember. A brief, startled laugh escaped her. It was unscripted. "I guess that's true." She lingered for a moment, as if waiting for the scheming, jealous foil to appear. When he just went back to frowning at his puzzle, she nodded and drifted back to her circle. Later that night, the duality of his existence felt more pronounced than ever. In his dorm, he became Commodore Score Conqueror. He announced a late-night horror stream for his new, much larger audience. The game was a brand-new, brutally difficult release, Veil of Shadows. Shenyu, silent observer, was waiting in the viewer list. He'd seen the viral clips. His curiosity had solidified into a habit. He'd cleared his evening. The stream began. Li Xia's calm, analytical voice filled Shenyu's quiet apartment. The opening credits use a Cyrillic typeface superimposed on Orthodox iconography. The setting is likely Eastern European post-war. The horror will be bureaucratic as much as supernatural. Shenyu leaned back in his chair, a faint, unconscious smile on his lips. This was a mind at work. It was engrossing. When a sudden, shocking betrayal happened in the game's story, the chat erupted in caps lock fury. Commodore Score Conqueror just hummed. "Foreshadowed in Act 1, he said. The character's ledger showed payments to a name mentioned in the secret police files. The emotional sting is effective, but the logic is sound. He wasn't just playing. He was deconstructing the narrative architecture. Shenyu, an actor who lived and breathed narrative, was utterly captivated. On an impulse, he clicked the gift icon and sent a small, digital coffee, the cheapest token available. It wasn't about the money. It was a signal in the dark. On stream, Commodore Score Conqueror's voice paused. Thank you for the coffee, silent observer. I'll use the caffeine to outlogic the next jump scare." The simple, direct acknowledgement, the way his username was spoken in that calm, focused tone, it sent an unexpected, warm jolt through Shenyu. He was seen, not as the movie king, but as a viewer, a participant. He typed for the first time, his fingers clumsy on the chat. "Your analysis is compelling." Commodore Score Conqueror, in the middle of solving an environmental puzzle, replied absently, "It's just connecting dots. The developers left them there for us. The fun is in seeing the picture before they officially show it." Shenyu stared at the sentence. The fun is in seeing the picture before they officially show it. It resonated with him on a level that was almost unsettling. It was how he approached a script, a character. It was a philosophy. He closed the chat window. He didn't type again. He just watched and listened, completely immersed in the authentic, unfiltered intelligence of the voice. The spoiled idol, Li Xia, was forgotten. In this digital space, there was only Conqueror, and Shen Yu wanted, more than anything, to understand the mind behind the mystery. Chapter 4. The Obsession Begins. Shen Yu's life was a meticulously curated calendar of obligations. Film shoots, script consultations, press junkets, charity galas. Each block of time was allocated, optimized, and non-negotiable. His assistant, a fiercely efficient young woman named Anya, was the guardian of this schedule. So, when Shen Yu called her on a Tuesday morning and said, "Clear my evening from 7 to 11. Every evening this week, actually, Anya was understandably perplexed. "Sir, you have the French director's dinner on Wednesday and the studio mixer on Thursday. Reschedule or send my regrets. Something has come up. A personal project." His tone left no room for argument. It was the same voice he used to command a film set of 300 people. "A personal project," Anya repeated, typing rapidly. Understood. The personal project was codenamed Conqueror in Shen Yu's mind. It had evolved from curiosity to ritual. His evenings, once spent reviewing scripts or in weary silence, were now dedicated to the stream. He didn't just watch, he studied. He took notes, not on paper, but mentally. He cataloged the streamer's deductive patterns, his dry humor, his seemingly infinite patience. He learned that Conqueror favored logic puzzles over combat, narrative cohesion over spectacle, and that his sigh, a soft, weary exhalation, meant he'd encountered a particularly lazy piece of game design. Shen Yu found it restorative. In an industry of fabricated emotions and calculated images, this was a bastion of pure, applied intellect. It was real, and he needed more of it. He needed to know the source. One afternoon, during a break in a tedious ADR session, he called his oldest friend, Lin Chun, a man who worked in cybersecurity and asked no questions about celebrity. "Chun," Shen Yu said, staring out at the city skyline. "I need a cultural analysis. There's a streamer, on Vox Pop, goes by Conqueror. No face. I want to know who he is." Lin Chen's laughter crackled down the line. "The great Shen Yu has fallen down a rabbit hole? Is he good?" "He's exceptional. It's not about being good. It's about the mind. I want to understand the context. You want me to dox a streamer for you?" Chen's tone turned teasing but cautious. "No, not dox. Just background. Is he a student? A professional? Where's he broadcasting from? I need to place the voice." Shen Yu's request was cloaked in intellectual curiosity, but the urgency beneath was a new, unfamiliar pulse. Lin Chen agreed, amused. A few days later, he called back. "Your mystery man is good. Uses a solid VPN, but the payment method for his premium account, it's linked to a corporate account. A business expense." Shen Yu's grip tightened on his phone. "What business?" "Starlight Entertainment." The name hit Shen Yu like a physical blow. Starlight, the agency of the pretty, disrespectful idol. Li Xia. The pieces, jagged and improbable, slammed together. The timeline matched. The late-night streams. The location. The voice. Shen Yu's mind raced, superimposing the idle, disinterested face of the idol from billboards over the calm, focused voice in the dark. It was impossible. It was undeniable. A storm of emotions broke over him. First shock, then a hot wave of betrayal. How could something so authentic be housed in someone so contrived? Then, cold, meticulous logic reasserted itself. He rewatched every VOD with new ears. The calm analysis, the disdain for drama, the "I don't care" attitude wasn't a performance. It was the core of the persona. And Li Xia, at the audition, hadn't been disrespectful out of arrogance. He'd been indifferent. He'd forgotten, because he was busy being someone else, someone real. The obsession crystallized. It wasn't just about the streamer anymore. It was about the dichotomy, the beautiful empty shell and the vibrant, hidden mind. Shinyu needed to see them in the same room. He needed to crack the code. On the Imperial Dawn set, the dichotomy was on full display, though no one else could see it. Filming had begun, and Li Xia was adequate. He hit his marks. He said his lines with clear pronunciation. He looked breathtaking in the historical robes, every inch the proud, venomous Su Yao. But when director Lao yelled cut, the life drained from his eyes instantly, replaced by a kind of polite vacancy. Between setups, he would vanish, not to his trailer, but to quiet corners where he'd pull out a handheld console or his phone, his brow furrowed in the same concentration Shinyu had seen on stream. He was solving puzzles, running through game logic exercises, utterly divorced from the Imperial Court drama around him. Jiang Mei watched him. Her initial curiosity was tinged with growing confusion. The script said he should be trying to upstage her, stealing moments, courting the director's favor. Instead, he seemed barely present. Once, she found him muttering to himself behind a faux palace wall. If the fetch quest is time-based, the trigger must be the lunar cycle in the game's sky, not the real-world clock. Li Xia, she'd asked. He'd looked up, blinked, and the sharp intelligence in his gaze had smoothed over into bland politeness, so fast it gave her whiplash. Yes? Do you need something? No. Are you all right? I'm fine. Thank you. The door had closed. The foil had reverted to type. But Shinyu, who arranged an informal set visit at director Lao's invitation, saw the truth. He arrived unannounced, a dark silhouette against the bustling lights. All attention snapped to him. The movie king had graced them with his presence. Lao fawned. Jiang Mei glowed with respectful awe. Shinyu's eyes scanned the set, dismissing everyone until they landed on Li Xia. The idol was sitting alone on a prop trunk, away from the craft services table, his posture relaxed in a way it never was on camera. He was staring at his phone, his thumb moving rhythmically. He hadn't noticed the commotion. Shinyu watched him for a full minute. This boy who contained multitudes. The beautiful, talentless idol. The brilliant, anonymous strategist. The object of his public disdain and his private fascination. They were both masks. But which one? Shinyu wondered with an intensity that shocked him, was the face beneath. He made his move during a lull. He extricated himself from the director and walked, with deliberate calm, towards Li Xia's quiet corner. Li Xia, sensing a shadow, glanced up. His reaction was not what Shinyu expected. There was no panic, no sycophantic scramble. There was a slow, weary recognition, and then the careful, blank politeness descended like a shudder. Shinyu Laoshi, Li Xia said, standing. His voice was the idol's voice, pleasant, empty. Li Xia. Shinyu nodded. He let the silence stretch, a tactic that usually made people nervous. Li Xia just waited, his phone now dark in his hand. I hear you've been cultivating other interests. Gaming. A flicker, a micro-expression, not of guilt, but of assessment. The Com_Conqueror evaluating a new variable. It's a hobby, a way to unwind. Whispers in the dark is a peculiar choice for unwinding, Shinyu said, his voice dropping, conversational. He mentioned the game by name, watching closely. Most people find it stressful. There it was. A second flicker, sharper. The eyes, for a fraction of a second, lost their vacancy and gained a focused sharpness. The connection was made. Li Xia knew that Shinyu knew something. It's just problem-solving, Li Xia said, echoing his streamer persona's mantra, but in the idol's flat tone. It was a test. Problem-solving, Shinyu repeated. He took a half-step closer, invading the carefully maintained personal space. He could see the perfect sweep of Li Xia's lashes, the flawless, poreless skin. The mask was impeccable, an interesting way to frame it, almost like connecting dots left by a developer. He quoted Com_Conqueror's own words back to him. Li Xia went perfectly still. The blankness on his face became not a lack of expression, but a controlled, deliberate nullity. The shield had been reinforced, not dropped. He said nothing. Shinyu felt a thrill that was entirely unprofessional. He'd cracked the shell, just a hair. He'd seen the mind behind the eyes recognize its own reflection. It was more exhilarating than any standing ovation. I look forward to seeing your problem-solving in your scenes, Shinyu said finally, his tone neutral again. He gave a slight, meaningless smile and turned away, leaving Li Xia standing alone in the shadow of the prop trunk. Back in his car, Shinyu's heart was pounding. It was him, absolutely, irrefutably. The mystery was solved, but a deeper, more profound mystery had begun. Who was the real Li Xia? The indifferent idol? The passionate analyst? And why did the collision of the two make Shun Yu feel more awake than he had in years? That night, he didn't watch the stream. He already knew who was behind it. Instead, he created a new, untraceable account on VoxPop. Not Silent Observer. Something else. He needed to communicate, to probe from a different angle. He typed a direct message to Conqueror. The words were simple, a thrown gauntlet. I saw you at the Starlight Gala. Your on-camera persona is very different from Conqueror. Which one is real? He sent into the digital void and waited, the obsession now a live wire humming in his veins. Chapter 5. Collision of Worlds. The message notification appeared as a soft, unobtrusive ping on Li Xia's secondary monitor. He was midstream, navigating the surreal, shifting geometry of a game called Labyrinth of Reflections. His character was in a hall of mirrors, each reflection showing a slightly different, increasingly grotesque version of itself. The key, he was saying to his chat, his Conqueror voice steady, isn't to find the true reflection. It's to identify the one reflection that breaks the established pattern of distortion. The outlier is the lockpick. His eyes flicked to the DM preview. He read it. His fingers, moving the mouse with fluid precision, did not falter. His voice did not hitch. But internally, the world tilted. User_Blackcube, I saw you at the Starlight Gala. Your on-camera persona is very different from Conqueror. Which one is real? The Starlight Gala, a corporate event he'd attended 3 nights prior. He'd worn a tailored suit, smiled for cameras, exchanged vapid pleasantries, and spent most of the evening mentally designing a trap for a particularly annoying boss in Veil of Shadows. He remembered the crush of people, the cloying scent of perfume and ambition. And he remembered Shenyu. The movie king had been across the room, a still point in the swirling chaos. His gaze like a physical weight when it had briefly, inexplicably, landed on Li Xia near the dessert table. Shenyu knew, or someone who'd been at the gala knew. The two worlds, the pristine, performative prison of Li Xia and the authentic, digital sanctuary of Conqueror, had not just collided, they'd been deliberately smashed together by an outside force. Conqueror. His character picks the correct mirror, which shatters to reveal a new path. And there we go. Pattern recognition. He paused, took a deliberate sip of water. The chat was scrolling with congratulations and theories. He looked directly at the camera, a feature he almost never used. A viewer asks an interesting question offstream. About authenticity. About personas. He saw the chat slow, listening. In a game, he continued, his tone turning casually philosophical, a persona is a tool. A stealth build, a warrior build. You choose it to solve a problem the game presents. In life, he trailed off a wry, almost invisible smile touching his lips, a smile that never appeared on Li Xia's face. In life, the problems are less clearly defined. Sometimes you pick a persona just to get through the level with minimal damage. It was the most personal thing he'd ever said on stream. He didn't address the DM directly, but he answered it in the space between his words. The chat erupted in thoughtful emojis and philosophical musings. But the shield had been breached. After he ended the stream, the quiet of his dorm felt different. It was no longer a sanctuary. It was a glass room someone had thrown a stone at. He stared at the message from Blackcube. The username was generic, new, no history. It could be a random stalker, a paparazzo, a disgruntled industry rival. But the timing, the specific reference, it felt targeted. It felt like him. For the next 2 days on set, Li Xia was hyper-aware. Every rustle of a costume, every murmured conversation from the crew felt potentially loaded. He performed his scenes as Su Yao with a kind of robotic perfection, his mind elsewhere. Jiang Mei gave him a few concerned looks during their intense confrontation scene, which required him to emanate jealous fury. He managed a convincing sneer, but his eyes were distant, calculating threat models instead of emotional stakes. Director Lao was frustrated. Xia, more fire. He stole your birthright. He stole the woman you love. Li Xia thought, what woman? What birthright? These are lines on a page. He thought, someone knows I am Commodore Score Conqueror. He delivered the line again, louder. It was technically correct. Lao threw up his hands and moved on. Xinyu watched it all. He'd received no direct reply to his DM, but he'd heard the on-stream monologue. The answer, sometimes you pick a persona just to get through the level, had reverberated in his mind for hours. It wasn't denial. It was admission, and it was profound in its cynicism and its truth. He arranged another set visit. This time, he had a pretext to discuss his cameo scenes blocking with Lao. But his focus was singular. He found Li Xia during the lunch break, not in the crowded catering tent, but in the most secluded spot possible, a dimly lit corridor of the soundstage that doubled as the palace's servant quarters currently in use. He was sitting on an upturned crate, illuminated by the glow of his phone screen, utterly absorbed. Xinyu approached silently. He could see the game on the screen, a complex, multi-layered puzzle involving shifting colored beams. Li Xia's face, in the phone's glow, was transformed. The bland, pleasant mask was gone. In its place was an expression of intense, focused engagement. His brow was slightly furrowed, his lips parted in concentration. He was beautiful, not in the static, picture-perfect way of his posters, but in a dynamic, vibrant way that spoke of a mind firing on all cylinders. This was Commodore Score Conqueror, unfiltered, unaware. Xinyu stopped a few feet away. He didn't speak. He simply watched the puzzle be solved with swift, efficient taps. When the screen flashed solution complete, Li Xia let out a soft, satisfied sigh, the exact sigh Xinyu had heard 100 times through his headset. Li Xia looked up. The transition was instantaneous, but Xinyu saw it this time, the moment of unraveling. The sharp intelligence in Li Xia's eyes didn't just shudder. It receded, like a creature diving into deep water, leaving behind a calm, empty surface. The idol's polite smile appeared. Xinyu Laoshi, do you need me? The dismissal in the question was breathtaking. Do you need me? As if Xinyu were a director with a note, not the man who held the key to his secret. Xinyu ignored the smile. He took another step closer, eliminating the distance. He spoke softly, for their ears only, but he used the cadence, the specific phrasing of Commodore Score Conqueror. The reflection that breaks the pattern of distortion. He quoted, his voice low. That's how you found the path in the labyrinth. Is that what you're doing here, Li Xia? Looking for the outlier? Every atom of Li Xia's carefully constructed composure froze. The polite smile didn't drop. It became a rictus, a porcelain mask glued in place. But his eyes widened just a fraction. The creature in the deep water had been struck. The recognition was absolute, and this time there was no assessment, only shock. For a long, silent moment, they stared at each other in the dusty half-light. The sounds of the active set were a distant world away. Here, there was only the truth laid bare between them. Xinyu saw the shock give way to something else. Not fear, but a weary, profound understanding. The game was up. Li Xia looked down at his phone, then back up at Xinyu. The idol's mask didn't crack, but it shifted. The vacancy within gained a new quality. Not emptiness, but a deliberate, chosen nullity. He was deciding not to engage. The path is always there, Li Xia said finally, his voice quiet. It wasn't the idol's voice. It wasn't quite Commodore Score Conqueror's either. It was something in between, something raw and untested. Some people just follow the obvious reflections. And with that, he stood, gave a slight, meaningless nod, and walked past Xinyu, back towards the noise and light of the set, leaving the movie king standing alone in the corridor. Xinyu didn't move. A slow, real smile spread across his face, one that would have caused a media frenzy had anyone seen it. It was a smile of triumph, of discovery, of sheer, undiluted fascination. He hadn't gotten an answer. He'd gotten something better, a reaction. The real Li Xia, or a fragment of him, had looked out from behind the masks and spoken back. Not with the idol's scripted lines or the streamer's analytical commentary, but with something uniquely, defiantly his. The obsession was no longer about solving a mystery. It was about meeting the mind that had been hiding in plain sight. And Shen Yu knew, with every fiber of his being, that this conversation was only the beginning. Chapter 6. The Unfiltered Truth. The corridor confrontation left a seismic crack in Li Xia's internal landscape. For days, he moved through his life, the set, the dorm, the mandatory company meetings, feeling like a ghost haunting his own body. Shen Yu knew, the movie king, the arbiter of artistic integrity he was supposedly meant to ingratiate himself with and subsequently be humiliated by, held his secret. The original script was in ashes. The expected retaliation, exposure, blacklisting, public shaming never came. Instead, something more unnerving happened. A silent, invisible shield seemed to form around him on set. A snippy assistant director who'd been criticizing his delivery suddenly became professionally neutral. A veteran actor who liked to condescend to the pretty young thing stopped seeking him out. It was as if a sign had been hung, hands off. Li Xia knew who had hung the sign. He could feel Shen Yu's gaze, even when the man wasn't physically present. It was no longer the cold, disdainful stare he'd expected from the narrative. It was watchful, intent. It felt like being studied under a microscope by a deeply fascinated scientist. The pressure built in a new way. It wasn't the pressure to perform. It was the pressure of being seen. Truly seen for the first time. It was terrifying. And in a secret, locked chamber of his heart, it was exhilarating. It came to a head during a late-night stream. He was playing a moody, atmospheric game about a melancholic astronaut stranded on a derelict space station. The game was slow, philosophical, heavy with themes of isolation and lost purpose. His chat was quieter than usual, matching the somber tone. He was trying to focus, to lose himself in the puzzle of repairing the station's oxygen recyclers. But his mind kept circling back to Shen Yu's words in the dusty corridor. Is that what you're doing here, Li Xia? Looking for the outlier. A viewer, user_space case, typed, Conqueror, you seem off tonight. Everything okay? Li Xia stared at the question on his secondary monitor. The usual deflection, just tired, this game is bleak, died on his tongue. The crack in his facade yawned wide. The persona of Conqueror, the unflappable problem solver, felt like just another suit that didn't fit. He took a long, slow breath. On stream, it was clearly audible. He leaned back in his chair, the game momentarily forgotten. A viewer asks if I'm okay, he said, his voice quieter, less performative than usual. It was just his voice. Tired. A little raw. And you know, it's a funny question. In the game here, my purpose is clear. Fix the station, survive, maybe find a way home. The problems are logical. The rules are defined. He paused, watching the chat slow to a crawl, listening. In the other game, he continued, the words coming out unbidden, the one not on this screen, the objectives are nebulous. Be successful. Be likable. Follow the script. But the rules are unwritten and change without notice. And the currency isn't oxygen or credits. It's perception. It's exhausting. Sometimes you just want to mute the audio and read the subtitles, you know? It was a torrent of honesty, disguised in metaphor, but transparent to anyone who knew his double life. He was talking about the idol industry, about his life. He was giving Shen Yu, who he knew was watching as silent observer, a direct look at the machinery behind the curtain. The chat exploded with support. Space Case, we love you, Conqueror. Your real talk is why we're here. Melon Bread, the other game sounds like a bad RPG. Uninstall. Ghost Hunter, you don't have to play by their rules. You make your own. Tears, unexpected and hot, pricked at the corners of Li Xia's eyes. He blinked them away rapidly. This was real. This connection. This understanding. It was the opposite of the empty applause that greeted Li Xia the idol. Yeah, he said, his voice thick for a second before he cleared it. Maybe I will. Uninstall a few things. Anyway, he straightened, pulling himself back to the game. This oxygenator isn't going to fix itself. The manual is probably in the captain's log, which, if the narrative symmetry holds, is in a module opposite the reactor breach. He slipped back into analysis, but the tone of the stream had permanently shifted. It was more intimate. The barrier between Commodore Score Conqueror and the person behind the name had visibly thinned. Shinyu watched the entire stream from his penthouse, unmoving. He heard the weariness, the frustration, the metaphor so apt it was painful. He saw the raw, unfiltered personality, not the idol's blankness, not the streamer's analytical detachment, but the person trapped between them, emerge for a few breathtaking minutes. It was more compelling than any award-winning performance he'd ever given or seen. The protector impulse that had led him to quietly intimidate the set bullies solidified into something more. He didn't just want to observe this person. He wanted to collaborate, to be led into that authentic space. The idea came to him fully formed. He called his assistant, Anya, the next morning. Clear my schedule for next Friday evening and contact the Starlight Entertainment liaison. I want to propose a joint charity initiative with one of their artists for the Children's Digital Literacy Foundation. A joint initiative? With which artist? Anya asked, already typing. Shinyu looked out at the city, a plan crystallizing. Li Xia. There was a stunned silence on the line. Li Xia? The idol from Imperial Dawn? Sir, his public image is controversial, and his professional reputation is being redefined. Shinyu finished, his tone brooking no argument. I've seen a different side of him. A side aligned with the Foundation's goals of leveraging digital platforms for good. Propose a charity gaming live stream. He streams, I'll guess. We'll raise funds for providing tech to underprivileged schools. Anya, wisely, asked no further questions. I'll propose it immediately. The proposal landed on Manager Wang's desk like a golden ticket from God. A joint charity event with Shinyu? It would rehabilitate Li Xia's image overnight. It would bring unimaginable positive press. Wang called Li Xia, his voice vibrating with gleeful urgency. Xia, this is it. Your redemption arc. Shinyu himself has requested you. A charity stream. You'll need to prepare, to be charming, to be engaging. A charity stream? Li Xia repeated, his heart doing a strange, slow somersault. Gaming? Yes. He must have seen your viral clips. This is perfect. You'll be the bridge between entertainment and gaming, wholesome and... Li Xia stopped listening. This wasn't Wang's maneuvering. This was Shinyu's move. A direct, public invitation into his world on his terms. It wasn't exposure. It was an offer. A test, perhaps, but one posed as a gift. He thought of the supportive chat, the feeling of being truly seen. He thought of Shinyu's watchful eyes in the corridor. A strange calm settled over him. This was a new game with new rules. And for the first time, he felt like he might have a co-op partner. Okay, he said, cutting Wang off. I'll do it. The news broke, and the entertainment world went into paroxysms of confusion and speculation. Shinyu and Problem Idol team up for charity. The narrative was being forcibly rewritten, not by Li Xia's scheming, but by the movie king's inexplicable interest. On the Imperial Dawn set, Jiang Mei found him during a break. Her success was palpable. Her scenes were being hailed as the heart of the show. But she looked at Li Xia not with pity or competition, but with deep, genuine bewilderment. A charity stream with Shinyu Laoshi, she said. How did that? I mean, congratulations. She shook her head, a small, bemused smile on her face. You're full of surprises, Li Xia. Just when I think I have you figured out. Li Xia met her gaze, the protagonist of the original story, standing before him, admitting she didn't understand his role anymore. The script was truly gone. Maybe, he said, with a slight shrug that was pure Counter-Score Conqueror. Nobody's as easy to figure out as they seem. She nodded slowly, looking at him as if for the first time, before being called back to set for her close-up. Li Xia turned his phone over in his hand. A notification from VoxPop. A direct message from Silent Observer. Not Black Cube, the original account. The message contained no words. Just a link to a simple, elegant digital invitation for the Game for Good charity stream, and a single, unadorned emoji of shake hands. Li Xia stared at it. Then, for the first time since this whole surreal journey began, he smiled a real, uncalculated, unreserved smile. He tapped a reply. Com_Conqueror. See you on stream. The game had changed, and he was no longer just a player following a script. He was, at last, a participant writing his own. Chapter 7. Rewriting the Script. Chapter 7. Rewriting the Script. The night of the charity stream arrived. Li Xia sat at his desk in his dorm, which had been subtly upgraded with a professional-grade webcam and ring light provided by a suddenly generous Starlight Entertainment. His Com_Conqueror avatar was on screen, but for the first time, a small, discreet box in the corner showed a live feed. Not of his face, but of his hands on the keyboard and mouse. A compromise between anonymity and connection. At 8 p.m., the stream went live. The viewer count, already high from pre-stream hype, exploded. It was a mix of his gaming followers, Shunyu's legions of fans, entertainment news junkies, and the profoundly confused. Hello, Li Xia said, his Com_Conqueror voice calm, but warmer than usual. Welcome to Game for Good. I'm Com_Conqueror. Tonight isn't about jump scares or lore deep dives. It's about using this space for something brighter. He explained the Foundation's goal with clear, succinct passion. He talked about access, about opportunity, about how games taught logic, patience, and problem-solving. He sounded, as one chat member typed, weirdly authoritative and actually passionate. Then, he introduced his guest. Please welcome a tremendous supporter of this cause, and my co-host for the evening, Shunyu. Shunyu's face appeared in a box beside the gameplay screen. He was at home, dressed in a simple black sweater, looking more relaxed than the public had ever seen him. A soft murmur of awe swept through the live chat. Thank you for having me, Com_Conqueror, Shunyu said, and the use of the streamer name was deliberate, a public acknowledgement of Li Xia's other identity. I've been an admirer of your strategic approach to games. I think it embodies the kind of critical thinking we want to foster. The dynamic was instant chemistry, but not of the rehearsed variety show kind. Shunyu played the eager novice, asking thoughtful questions about game mechanics. Li Xia, as Conqueror, fell naturally into the role of guide, his explanations crisp and engaging. When they hit a tricky puzzle in the co-op game, Shunyu offered an actor's perspective on the narrative clue, while Li Xia dismantled the environmental logic. They fit together like complementary puzzle pieces. User_Movie King fan. I've never seen Shunyu smile this much. User_Conqueror crew. Our boy is holding his own with the Movie King. I'm crying. User_Neutral Observer. This is genuinely delightful. What timeline is this? The highlight came during the light-hearted adventure game. Shunyu's character got stuck on a silly, physics-based obstacle. A rolling boulder he kept failing to jump over. After the third attempt ended in a cartoonish splat, Li Xia let out a soft snore of laughter. The problem, Com_Conqueror said, dryly, isn't your timing. It's that you're treating it like a dramatic leap. It's a bunny hop. This isn't Shakespeare. It's a game about a gardening robot. On screen, Shunyu threw his head back and laughed. A real, full-bodied, unguarded sound that sent the chat into a frenzy of heart emojis. Fine, fine, he said, wiping a tear from his eye. Teach me the poetry of the bunny hop, almighty conqueror. The image was priceless. The revered, serious movie king being patiently tutored by the talentless idol in the art of a video game jump. It was humanizing, disarming, and utterly charming. Donations poured in, smashing their fundraising goal within the first hour. For Li Xia, the 2-hour stream was a revelation. He wasn't performing as Li Xia the idol. He wasn't hiding as Com_Conqueror. He was simply being, using his skills for a purpose alongside someone who, against all odds, seemed to genuinely value his mind. The weight of his double life didn't feel heavy in that moment. It felt like having 2 toolkits instead of one. When the stream ended with a final, staggering donation total, they signed off to a torrent of grateful comments. Li Xia sat back in his chair, physically tired but mentally buzzing. His phone lit up immediately. A message from Silent Observer. Silent Observer. That was exceptional. Thank you. Com_Conqueror. You're the one who brought the audience. Silent Observer. I brought the eyes. You brought the substance. Get some rest. We'll talk soon. We'll talk soon. The words hung in the air, promising a future conversation that existed outside of scripts, streams, or public personas. The aftermath was a media tsunami. Screenshots of Shun Yu's laugh, clips of Li Xia's patient explanations, and a staggering fundraising total were everywhere. The narrative had been completely rewritten overnight. Articles now read, Li Xia, the gamer idol redefining celebrity, Shun Yu's savvy partnership with Digital Wiz, and how a horror game streamer stole the movie king's attention. On the Imperial Dawn, set the next week, the change was palpable. The crew looked at him with new respect, even curiosity. Director Lau clapped him on the shoulder. Good work on that stream, kid. Unexpected. It's got people talking about the show. Even Jiang Mei's trajectory had subtly shifted. She was still the rising star, the critical darling. But the original story's core conflict, the hardworking protagonist versus the vain, scheming foil, was dead. Her success was now her own, not defined in opposition to his failure. She gave him a nod during a break, a look of professional acknowledgement passing between them. They were on different paths, both valid. In his dorm, Li Xia finally allowed himself to breathe. The script in his head was silent. Not glitching, not recalibrating, just quiet. The future was a blank page, terrifying and full of potential. He opened his laptop, not to stream, but to browse. He looked at the Foundation's website, seeing the real-world impact of their funds. He saw messages from his streaming community, proud and excited. He saw a news alert. Shun Yu spotted leaving Starlight Entertainment offices, potential new collaboration. A small, steady flame of something that felt suspiciously like hope ignited in his chest. He had survived the system. He had, in his own stubborn, nonchalant way, won his freedom. And he had, perhaps, found an ally in the most unlikely of places. The game wasn't over, but he finally felt like he had a controller in his hands and a clear view of the SCR. Chapter 8. New Game Plus. The final episodes of Imperial Dawn aired. Li Xia's performance as Su Jian was different. Not dramatically better, but quieter. More observant. There is a hint of the calm analysis in his eyes, a subtlety that hadn't been there before. Critics noted an intriguing, unexpected stillness in his performance. The original novel's plot was ashes. Li Xia was not disgraced. He was a viral sensation with a burgeoning second career. He had the quiet, inexplicable patronage of Shun Yu, who now openly discussed gaming on talk shows, crediting a brilliant streamer for reintroducing him to the joy of it. Jiang Mei won Best New Actress for her role, her star rising exactly as the original script intended. She gave a moving speech about hard work and dreams. It was a perfect, closed loop for her story. Li Xia muted the awards show live stream on his monitor. A soft knock came at his dorm door. He opened it to find Shun Yu, dressed down in simple jeans and a sweater, holding a bag from a high-end gaming store. I heard Phantom Ascent. Co-op is brutally difficult, Shun Yu said, holding up 2 premium controller boxes. The reviews say it requires perfect synergy and communication. Sounds like a challenge. Li Xia looked from the controllers to Shun Yu's face, no longer a mask of movie king grandeur, but alive with open, eager anticipation. No script, no destiny, just a choice. A real, unguarded smile spread across Li Xia's face, the one his streaming audience knew and loved. You'll scream first. Shun Yu stepped inside, kicking the door gently shut behind him. I'd like to see you try to make me. On the muted monitor, Jiang Mei held her trophy aloft, her perfect story glowing. In the soft light of the dorm room, Li Xia slotted a disc into his console, the title Phantom Ascent flashing on the screen. The opening music swelled, not for an award show, but for a new game, an unwritten co-op campaign waiting to be played. He handed a controller to Shun Yu, their fingers brushing briefly. No lines to recite, no fate to obey. Just the quiet hum of the console, the promise of a shared challenge. and the infinite, thrilling possibilities of a game they would write for themselves.